my question for you is, what are some of the pros and cons of, living in the Matrix versus not living in the Matrix?
The easiest and most concise way to really answer that question is through a meme that I came across not so long ago. And this meme had two pictures of two lions. One of the lions was in a zoo, and the other lion was out in the wild in Africa. And the caption said, and I'll read it, "One of these lions has security, free guaranteed shelter, guaranteed food, Medicare, and the other lion has no assurances. Everything about his quality of life is his own responsibility." Right? So in some sense, both lions are kind of free. The one in the zoo is being looked after. He doesn't have to worry too much about too much. I don't have to worry about where my water is coming from. I just have to go into the supermarket. My food is there for me. I just have to open my tap. My water runs out. If I need clothes, I just have to go to the shop. I just have to get a job. The plugins of that matrix are already established. So it's much more comfortable to be in that space. It's much easier. It's much more comfortable. The other lion that's out in the wild, that's unplugged, that doesn't have the same plugins, has to look for its own water, or it will die of thirst. Has to look for its own food. It has to hunt for itself. Has to protect itself. Has to find ways to thrive on its own, right? So, but it's free. It's not in a zoo. It's not told when to sleep. It's not told what to do. It decides when and how it will do things. So this is exactly the same thing with what we're doing. It's very romantic to say living off grid and we've left the matrix and we're on our own. But the reality of it is the responsibility of being self-responsible is absolutely huge, really huge. You've got to really practice a level of detachment that is beyond anything you could have ever imagined. Really, really, on so many levels. Mentally, just mentally. We come from a system or from a world of extreme stimulation. From the moment you open your door in the matrix, in the street, there's so much stimulation. There's cars everywhere. There's people. There's billboards. There's things happening. There's always something to stimulate you. You come out here in nature, you're awake. A lot of us sleep in tents or very or log cabins. And you open the door and it's quiet, it's silent. That stimulation isn't there. You've got to learn to stimulate yourself. You're left with your own thoughts. There's no distractions. All of a sudden your traumas come through. You're now having to deal with things you never thought you had within you. Because in the matrix, you never get to deal with those things because there's so much distraction. You never ever get a chance to actually hear your own thoughts, to hear your own soul, to heal from your traumas. Yeah. And when you live in this environment, all of a sudden these shadows appear. Whew. There it is, that shadow, and the shadow work begins. And it's really painful. So that's happening mentally, that's happening emotionally. Then there's the physical aspect. We've got to eat, guys, if you want to be self-sufficient. I've got to learn how to start growing. I've never grown anything in my life. Where do I even begin? What do seeds look? What does a watermelon seed look like when it's in the ground? How do you plant? What is a seedling? What does that even mean? You're asking yourself all these questions. A well, oh my goodness, how do you clean a well? Do you clean a well? I mean, what happens if this happens? Is it clean water? How do you know the water's clean? There are all these questions you have to ask yourself about how to thrive without relying on mom and dad. Mom and dad being the government, the system. You're on your own. So those are the cons of it. But at the same time, it's a pro, because the more you start to learn these things and overcome these things, the more powerful you really become, the more powerful you start to feel. So 3 years into this, we're speaking to some people in the matrix saying, oh my God, electricity is so expensive, and amenities, and the water is so toxic, even bottled water. Even now, my distiller distilling the water, the electricity is so expensive, I can't even distill the water. And we're like, wow, I'm so glad we learned how to clean wells, how to look after our own water. We don't have those problems at all. Everything is just provided for us. It was hard the first few years, months that we're doing it, but now that we're doing it, it's so much easier. Same thing with everything else that we're doing. The more we're really learning to be self-sufficient, the easier life becomes in the long run. So it's harder in the short run when you're starting like anything, like a business. Right. When you start off, you put in the hours, you put in the shift, you're not getting any profits, all your money is going, everything, and you're gambling, you're risking, you're like, if this doesn't work, I'm putting all my savings into this. But you have faith that when it does work and I become that millionaire, I can relax while everyone else is still working and toiling for somebody else. It's the same thing with sovereignty.
Yeah,
so this is a long game. It's not a short game. To do this, you've really got to be dedicated to the long-term vision. You've got to be selfless. You can't be thinking about your comforts in the here and now. You've got to be looking at the bigger picture, the future, where we're going. So we know for a fact that everything that we're doing now, the sacrifices that we're making, many of us left our businesses, we left homes, we left comforts. Some of us are sleeping in tents, in the cold, we, cutting wood, really uncomfortable situations from where we've come from. And it gets easier every year as you acclimatize and adapt. But we also know that we'll get to a stage one day where, because we've cultivated this space, we're going to have the abundance and the wealth that maybe people who haven't cultivated the space have not had or have not done. So it's really a labor of love, and it's a long game.
Yes.